Here we are. Bonjour, friends. Bonjour, bonjour. Cynthia here. And today we are having a very important conversation about menopause. Many of you have asked about menopause. You suggested that I have a conversation during these series with an expert concerning menopause. So voila, here we are. My name is Cynthia, and our guest today is Dr. Stephanie Young Moss. While I wait for our guest to arrive, good afternoon to you. Bonjour, bonsoir, buenos dias, bon dia. All of the greetings from. So give me one moment while we wait. Good. All right, ready to go. There she is. There she is.
Hi there.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I am good. I am good. Busy couple of days, but here we are. First,
Yes, we
thank
are.
you so much for accepting my
You're
invitation.
welcome.
My followers have been asking for months because while I do these lives quite frequently, they will see that I will have a hot flash and I will talk about menopause, and they will give me their opinion and their suggestions. So I decided to reach out to you to have this conversation. So, Dr. Moss, you are
Mhm.
a pharmacist. You are also the author of Menopause in Color.
You
Let's
speak it, Arthur. You said it. I'm actually the founder, but I will be the author of that coming up soon
okay.
too.
Okay. Oh, I thought it was a book. Okay, okay. So it's not a book as yet.
Not yet. Almost. Not yet.
Okay. So menopause in color. Let's begin with your experience in menopause.
Okay. Well, first, I'm Dr. Stephanie Young Moss, but just call me Stephanie, of course. I'm a pharmacist and I'm a menopause educator, and I'm the founder of Menopause in Color. So that's an organization where we talk about menopause, perimenopause, we educate, we uplift, we build community in the area, in the space, and we are just making sure that we build in community so we have someone to talk to. But as far as my menopause story, probably in my mid to late 30s, I started having signs and symptoms, and I really didn't know what was going on with me. Because, of course, when we hear menopause, what do we think? A lot older, right? I wasn't
Yes.
thinking mid to late 30s that this could be anything to do with menopause. So I was actually having heart palpitations, and I went to my healthcare provider. They sent me to the cardiologist, which I'm grateful for. But when the results came back that nothing was going on, that everything was fine, we did not talk about what it could be. We didn't talk about, hey, this could be perimenopause or menopause. So it made me start to do some of the research myself. I started checking off boxes of things I was experiencing, um, just loss of interest in things, and just not some of the main things that you hear about, like hot flashes. I think everyone's waiting on the hot flash, not realizing sometimes signs and symptoms can be a lot more than that.
Ah.
So when I told my doctor, she said, "Oh, you're too young. You're younger than me." That was the end of the conversation. So I ended up actually diagnosing myself by doing those check marks and checklists. And I realized if I'm a pharmacist and I have no idea what's going on, even though I've learned about supplements, minerals, women's health, that other people possibly couldn't know what was going on with them. So that's what made me start to do my own research and then start menopause in
All
color.
right. Well, before we continue, what is the difference between
Mhm.
premenopause and menopause?
Yep. So perimenopause. Well, let's start with menopause.
Perimenopause.
Yeah, let's go backwards. So menopause, the scientific definition is not having your cycle for 12 months and 1 day. That's what scientific definition is. You haven't had a cycle for at least 12 months and 1 day. And perimenopause just means around the time of menopause. And that is typically that time when you start to have cycle changes.
Okay.
You may start to see more signs and symptoms because your hormones are going up and down so much that that's really the most symptomatic time during the transition period. So that's just that period of time before menopause. And premenopause is just normal cycle, normal. That's just considered normal cycle cycle, normal reproductive years that women have, but then peri is when those hormones start to decline and you start having signs and symptoms.
For those of you just joining us, we are giving you the conversation you've been asking for. We are talking about menopause. So, ladies, if you are going through this, if you've been wondering about it, if you know someone who is, get on the live and share this live as well. I would like to talk about how I started experiencing
Mhm.
this. I forgot my children's ages. I try not to, I don't even remember all the ages anymore. I have 3 children going on 5 grandchildren, but my eldest, I believe, is 36, and my second, my daughter, is about 33,
Mhm.
34, and I have a 12-year-old. Long
Okay.
story, we're not going to go there. But I remember at 40, I had him at 40, and at 42, 2 years later, I started waking up covered in sweat, like just
Mm.
drenching in sweat.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no idea what that was. I went on social media, I went on Facebook, and I said, why am I waking up like just covered in sweat? And some women would say it's menopause, you're about to go through menopause.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no idea what they were talking about. I never heard any of the women in my family talk about menopause. I was
Mm-hmm.
born in the
Mm-hmm.
Bahamas. My parents are from Haiti. I never heard any older Bahamian woman, Caribbean woman, talk about menopause. So
Mm-hmm.
then I started, thinking, what did they think this was? What is this? So that's how um my experience started. It started with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you said, I know you're not going to give me a diagnosis. That's not what we're here for, but I'm just sharing my experience.
Right, right.
Uh, and then after that, I started missing my menstruations every now and then. It would go
Yep.
away. And then all of a sudden, now I'm 54. I would say when I started at 52, I would get these hot flashes. Like
Mm-hmm.
right now, I'm having a hot flash, and my followers know I would pull out my fan and I would just start fanning myself because I'm having a hot flash. And I no longer have a
Uh-huh.
ministration, so I'm not having any more children.
Right.
Not going, thank God, because So that was my experience.
Right.
So my question to you is everyone's, like, based on what you have come in contact with,
Mm-hmm.
does this sound familiar to you,
Mm-hmm.
or is it unique to everyone?
Yeah, so everyone is unique. So some people will have no symptoms, right? Some people will say, I didn't have anything, so it's not a big deal. And which really bothers me because there's some people who have several symptoms. They have everything where it could be a hot flash, it could be the mental changes, it could be itchy skin, low libido, um, anxiety and depression. I don't know if you can say that word on here, but
Yes,
on
I
certain
think
platforms,
yes, you can.
okay, some platforms you can't say that. So
Okay.
a lot of those different things, even hair loss, and like people are saying in the chat, some of those things as well can really affect people, but everyone's different. Some people start earlier and some people start later. Some people have cycle changes that may be heavier, and then some people have them where they start to skip. So everyone's experience with menopause is different. But it's important that you are talking to your healthcare provider, you're writing down these signs and symptoms, you're checking off what's going on with you, because then you can talk about it and say, hey, I'm experiencing this. Could this possibly be perimenopause or menopause? So, like you said, Cynthia, when you had hot flashes, I think we're all waiting for that hot flash to come. But a lot of the research has actually shown that some of the first signs that people see besides cycle changes could also possibly be mood changes that they don't realize that they have. So if they have, and not just PMS, we're talking about. So, for instance, if you have a history of anxiety or depression, some people will actually have a reoccurrence, or it will come back up. It will become more out of control when their hormones start to fluctuate. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that can be some of the first signs or symptoms. Yeah, mood swings, heavy mood swings as well. So that sometimes that could be the first thing people see and they don't realize it. So it's always important to write it down and bring those things to your healthcare provider to talk about them so that they can tell you what you can do.
Ladies, feel free to share your experiences in the chat as well. I did not realize that I even had mood
Mhm.
swings until a couple of months ago. I was having lunch with a friend, and she said that she was going to take the hormones or something,
Mhm.
and because she was tired of having mood swings and being cranky
Right.
and the hot flashes. And as she's telling me this, I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my God, I've been having mood swings. I've been having mood swings. I feel so bad
Right.
because I didn't know that I was having mood swings and being cranky.
Yeah. And when you said something important earlier, how your family didn't talk about it. And I think a lot of our family didn't talk about it because no one talked to them about it. So, we really can't, it's some people want to blame, well, why didn't our mothers talk about it? Well, no one talked to our mothers about it. So they didn't really know. So it's really up for us to talk to the next generation and to talk to our friends about it so people won't be ashamed to talk about menopause. Because I mean, this is a new stage of life that we need to celebrate, right? So we need to be comfortable talking about it and having these types of discussions as
Yes,
well.
and that's why we're having this
Hmm.
conversation. Right? Do not take hormones, but just a lot of sports. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, I did try to ask my mother and my aunt. I
Hmm.
tried to describe to them what menopause
Hmm.
was. And
Hmm.
I'm still blown away that so many of the elderly women in our
Hmm.
community were so active, and I didn't witness any signs of their menopause, yet
Hmm.
mine is evident. I'm having a conversation with you right now, and I'm having a hot flash, and later on I may have a mood swing, but I never saw that with my mother and my aunts. I
Right.
mean, what was that like? Well, I knew that they drank a lot of tea. They drank a lot
Hmm.
of herbal tea. I
Hmm.
don't know
Hmm.
if they thought that I don't know what to say. I don't
I
know
wonder
what
what
they
was
thought
in
it
the tea.
was.
I would be interested to see what was in the tea. That would be very interesting because I think when it comes to treating signs and symptoms, everyone is different. So, for especially for hot flashes, a lot of the things that are out there, you do have your vitamins and supplements. I always say to start with your lifestyle changes. See what you're eating. How's your diet and exercise? What are you doing there? But there are some people who actually do need menopause hormone therapy, and it shouldn't be ashamed to say that they want to talk to a healthcare provider about it because estrogen receptors are all over the body. And so when that estrogen starts to decline, that's why you can feel it in different places of your body where you may have brain fog or insomnia. You may have vaginal dryness and things of that nature because those estrogen receptors are
Oh
everywhere. So
Lord.
I think it's up for the individual to decide, hey, I want to tackle this the natural way and do hormones. I mean, excuse me, do vitamins and supplements, or I want to do hormones. So it's just up to that person to talk to their doctor about their medical history, and then they can kind of decide what they want to do from there.
So menopause affects our intimacy as well? Oh
Yes,
my
yes, yes, it can.
gosh.
Well,
No.
of course, you know about low libido, where people may not have as much interest as they used to, of course. But then also when it comes to things as far as affecting the vagina, as far as dryness as well and atrophy, and then even increase sometimes for people with UTIs too. It can happen as well because of those. So there are things you can do like your local estrogens and your hyaluronic acid suppositories and things like that as well can help. But it can affect it because those decrease in estrogen can affect the dryness and also the tone of that as
What
well.
is the purpose of menopause? I know the purpose of puberty when
Uh-huh.
we were younger, right? We know the
Hmm.
purpose of that. What is the purpose? I believe while we're aging, I believe there's a purpose to everything in our bodies. As a
Right,
woman,
right.
I believe that my body was designed to give birth. Everything I needed was there to give birth, to support my birth.
Hmm.
But as I'm aging and getting older, how is menopause supporting my body
Right.
if all of this is happening to me?
Right. Well, I think, of course, menopause really means the end of your reproductive years,
Oh,
whether you had children or
okay.
not, right? And so your hormones start to decline. It's just not supporting that anymore. But I think we need to look at it as a change of how we want to treat our body. How can we support our body since we don't have those things anymore? And like I said, it depends on what you want to do, whether it's hormones or vitamins or whatever. But I really just think it means a change. And that's really what it means. So how are you going to deal with this change? What things you're going to do differently now that you used to do? I mean, you can't do some of those things anymore. How are you going to change supporting your body? How are you going to change the way you eat? So you got to think about, what did I used to do and what did I used to eat? And what things do I need to add into my diet now or take out of my diet because I'm not in that stage of life anymore? So I really see it as just change. I mean, period is what I
Yeah,
see. And then
it
also
is.
wisdom. I see
Yeah,
menopause as wisdom.
yeah,
I think about wisdom when I hear menopause, right? So we need to be speaking out more and talking about, because we're wise. We are the elders
yes,
now.
we
Well, we need to
are.
be sharing the information about our body and what's going on. And some of the things you learn or what you've been through. So that's really how I see
Yeah,
it.
yeah, I love that you said wisdom because I it hit me the other day that this is something I need to
Hmm.
embrace.
Hmm.
This is now a part of my life for the
Right.
rest of my life.
Hmm.
I need
Hmm.
to embrace it. I need to take a mental note. I need to make
Hmm.
notes on what I did before that I can no longer do.
Right.
I used to love to wear long, long braids,
Hmm.
and I had to take them out and do mini braids because I can't stand all the hair on my head. I
Right.
would
Yeah, I
love
have a,
to.
this is my, I have lots. So sometimes they can
So
feel like a scarf a little bit,
yeah,
but
it's like so we do have changes. I
yeah.
cannot be as busy as I used to before. I
Hmm.
have to be very intentional with how I live my life
Right.
because I am embracing living with menopause. And I think that is the first step as
Hmm.
opposed to fighting it
Right.
and hating it and
Right.
oh my God, I hate this thing and being ashamed of
Yep.
it. It's wisdom. It's a good start to embrace it
Hmm.
and live with it and learn how to navigate this new life.
Exactly. And I try to, like, when I talk about signs and symptoms, I talk about them so that people will know, hey, this could be possibly what it is. Because, don't get me wrong, everything is not menopause,
Right.
of course. So that's why I say it's so important to talk to your healthcare professional. But I think it's important for us to realize, hey, what it could be and just to be in tune with our bodies, right? So that change is just important. Like, for instance, when it comes to me for a hot flash, there are certain things that could trigger a hot flash. Some foods and things can trigger it. So some of those things
Mm.
are alcohol, sugar, spicy foods, and I'm missing one more. Alcohol, spicy foods, sugar, and I'm missing one. Caffeine. So
Woo,
all the
all
good
of the
things.
above.
So all
That's
those good
me.
things, right? All those good things could possibly trigger it, but not for everyone. So you just have to be mindful of. So what I did to figure out what triggered me was I would write down, okay, let me see, what did I eat today, and if did I wake up with the night sweat, which is the same thing as a hot flash, it's a vasomotor symptom, but did I wake up with it, and if I did, what did I eat that day? And for me, it was wine. So
Mm.
I ended up having to cut that back because I knew, and what I tell people is, I'm not saying that you have to eliminate it. I'm just saying be mindful of what you're eating and what you're drinking. And you can say, okay, you know what? I want to have a glass of wine tonight. I may wake up with a hot flash, I may not, but I'm just mindful that this could happen to me. So that's what I like to tell people. Just be mindful of what you're
So
doing.
this is the stage of our life where we really have to be intentional about
Hmm.
our body, be in tune with our bodies.
Yes. Yep.
We really
Hmm.
have to be in tune. What are some misconceptions and myths that are common about menopause?
Well, I think one would be that it's one size fits all. So we kind of talked about that. It's not
Yes.
one size fits all. Everyone is different. Everyone has a different path that they're going to do. And then also, I think that for me, the biggest misconception is that it starts a lot older. That, we're always thinking that it's a lot, people are a lot older than they are. But the average age in the US for white women is 51 for menopause, and for Black women is
Mm.
49. Hispanic women are somewhere in between the age of 49 and 51. And then Asian women are typically over the age of 51. And that's just the average. So some people may say, well, I'm 62 and I still have my cycle. Well, that's why they call it an average, because there's somebody that was younger
Mm.
than you that averages that age out. So I think that is really a misconception, that it starts a lot older. I think even with people with corporations, they're thinking, I don't have menopausal women in my job because all of them are retired. They're not. You have people who have perimenopause and menopause that are in your boardrooms leading every day, that may be having a hot flash, that may be mentally going through something because they're taking care of their parents and they're taking care of their kids and they're going through menopause. And so we need to be mindful of who this is affecting, and that it's not just older women who are actually going through this.
Is menopause, can menopause, because you just mentioned being in the boardroom, some women still have to carry on with their
Hmm.
lives. Many of them are not retired. They're
Right.
still working and may experience these things during a meeting or while they're at work.
Hmm.
I'm wondering, just like prenatal care
Hmm.
and stuff like that, is there like a
Yes.
type of care for menopause?
Yeah, so I will will say now the UK is light years ahead of us when it comes to some policies that they put in place. They have a lot of menopausal policies in place where they will have support for women who are going through menopause. And it's almost similar to when someone's having a baby. It's kind of not as long, but they do have some policies in place. And the US is starting to adopt some of those things, so you will see it. And then I also get corporations that will want me to come in and speak to their women's group or to their managers, just so they'll know how to either deal with it or what to look for, because they really don't understand it themselves. So you are starting to see that a lot more, and hopefully we'll start to get more and more companies who will put that type of thing in place, whether it's extra days or whether it's a room that they
They
have
have,
that you
yeah.
may be able to go into, or something like that. So we are starting to see it a little bit more, but I will say the UK is a lot ahead of us, well ahead of us in that.
But that can be kind of tricky too, Stephanie, because I mean, if I am a CEO or a CFO at a
Mm-hmm,
major
mm-hmm.
corporation, do I want to say that I need, for lack of a better word, special
Right,
care
right.
or
And I told, yeah.
consideration?
Hmm. And you know what? I agree with that. And I think that's where we have to stop the misconception that it's a bad thing or that it is a negative towards us. It's just a stage of life that we are learning to shift and adjust to. That doesn't mean we cannot do our job. That doesn't mean that we can't be in a boardroom and give presentations. It just means we have to learn that change and how to adjust to that thing. But I really don't want us to be ashamed to say, hey, I need help, because that's where people will suffer if they are going through something mentally or going through a hot flash or whatever it is. That's why I think we'll suffer more if we're afraid to talk about that.
Yeah, yes, yes,
Hmm.
definitely. Research shows that Black women are very underserved in this area.
Hmm.
Why? Why do
Uh,
you,
well,
yeah, why do you think?
Well, I think some of it is implicit bias and structural racism. Like I said, when I went to my doctor, she told me I was too young to have it because I was younger than her. And that's not true. So if she would have done the research, she would have seen that. But I think some of it is also because due to stress, that some of the studies have shown, and this is just not me thinking this, but there's a study out from the Swan study that actually looked at this. And the reason that they listed was structural racism, implicit bias, and stress were some of the reasons that you see menopause earlier in a lot of people. So I think it's that. And then also a lot of times if we are going through something, we may not be heard as far as what's going on. We may not be given an option whether we want to be on hormone therapy or whatever vitamins. So sometimes that
Wow.
could be ignored as well. And then so that could be it as
I
well.
had no idea. Now, as we're having this conversation, I recall a conversation I had with my primary care doctor, who is a gynecologist. She's a woman.
Mm-hmm.
She's not Black.
Hmm.
And I remember asking her about the hot flashes and to tell me about menopause and if there was anything that I needed to know. And I remember her telling me, welcome to menopause. That's what she said to me. I now remember she said to me, welcome to menopause.
Uh-huh.
And I said, well, what can you give me? Is there anything I can do? She said, nothing at all.
Okay.
That's what that's exactly what she said to me. Wow.
Well,
And
you
now,
know what? Like I said with my doctor, so this was when I first wanted to start having signs and symptoms of perimenopause. And she told me I was too young. And she doesn't look like me either. She told me I was too young because I was younger than her. But I think at the time, and I really don't want to blame doctors because they really didn't get enough training in that area.
yeah.
Some doctors did not. And she was my OBGYN. So she was very, very good at delivering my baby. She was an expert at that. And so menopause wasn't the thing that she saw a lot in her practice. Now it is. So now she doesn't even deliver babies anymore. She really focuses on pro aging and also menopause. So she's very well educated in it now. And I think a lot more healthcare professionals, pharmacists, nurses are starting to do their own research and join things like the Menopause Society and making their own initiative to try and learn more. So therefore, they know now what's the newest thing, what's up to date. That we aren't using synthetic hormones anymore. We're using bioidentical hormones that look like hormones in the body. So they know what vitamins that
Mm.
if you're deficient in vitamin D, that can actually make your menopause symptoms worse. So they are able to educate themselves and they're able to help us more because now they are really paying attention to what's going on because we're being more vocal about it.
Yeah. In addition to that, I'm definitely going to talk to the elders, my mother, and all the other women
Mm-hmm.
that were drinking teas all day, natural herbal
Yep.
teas. I need to find
And you
out
better I get
what
that
they would.
recipe.
Yeah, I need to get the recipe to find out because I saw
Mhm.
no evidence of menopause at all, and they had to be going through menopause. I
Yep.
mean, there's no way.
Hmm.
In what other ways besides speaking
Hmm.
do you advocate for menopause
Well,
awareness?
education and just sharing my story as well is probably one of the biggest ways. I am working to build more educational platforms, whether it's for healthcare professionals and also patients alike, so that we can learn and that it is health literacy is important so that it's in terms that we can understand as well. So educating that way too. And then also creating a journal that's a menopause journal. So when you say author, that's what I'm working on now is creating that so that we can write down our experiences, what worked for us, what we were going through, and then we can pass that on and share it with others, whether it's your friends, your niece, your daughter, or whoever it is, so they can know what was going on with you when you look back. Because like I said, we don't talk about it enough, right? And we don't know what's going on, so it's important for that.
I love this. Ladies, if you're just joining, we are having that conversation boldly about menopause. We encourage you to no longer be ashamed, no longer be afraid
Mhm.
to talk about what you are experiencing and share. Dr. Stephanie, before we go, what are three things you definitely want to reiterate
Mhm.
for those who are just joining in?
Well, I think one is to not be afraid or ashamed to talk about your what you're going through, because you will be surprised at others who are going through the same thing. So whether it's to your healthcare professional, make sure that they're listening to you and make sure that they're actually listening and hearing you. And then also don't be afraid to talk to your friends about it because they're going through it as well. And then also your lifestyle. Look and see what are you eating? What do your vitamins look like? What's going on there as well? So making that change. So when we think about the change, make that change there as well. Look and see what you're doing. And then also, I think just being an advocate for yourself. If you're not getting the help you need, then you need to go and probably talk to someone else. So I think those are probably the main three things that I would leave you guys with.
Yes, that's what I was going to ask you. If they
Mhm.
speak with their healthcare professional and not satisfied with the response,
Yep.
can they look to you, to your website, to your information, and can you share that with us? Can
Yep.
you be the place that they start?
Yeah, so they can start there. You can go to menopauseincolor.com. I do have information there, but then also the Menopause
Is it
Society as well. They have a list
only
of
for Black
doctors.
women? Because you said
No,
in
it's
color. I'm
not.
sorry. Okay.
So no, that's okay. So menopause in color means living your life out loud and
Ah,
in color. Now I do focus on health disparities and I do focus on things that are for women in color, but my website is for everyone because we all go through menopause and perimenopause. But I think that the health disparity is what is really important to me because we don't talk about it enough in our community, and I want to make sure that I'm providing that support. But then also Menopause Society, guys, if you're looking for a doctor, they do have healthcare professionals in a database where you can find someone in your city or state as well.
oh, it's called Menopause Society.
Society. Yep. Yep.
Well, that's it, ladies. Thank you for sharing all of your comments. Let me see if I missed anything. Dr. Stephanie, if you see anything here that we missed, we can answer
Okay.
before we leave. Hi, I'm 41. I'm already getting these symptoms. Thank you for all the great information you shared. I'm going to look into this. All right, contact Dr. Stephanie. Let's see what else. What else do we have here? I could not believe when my friend was listing what she was going through, and she said mood swings. I was like, oh my God, I've been having mood swings. Okay, so moi having mood swings. I
Right.
cannot believe it, right? And I came home and apologized to everyone. I said, honey, if I'm having mood swings, I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. I
Yeah. So even
apologize
in
to my.
being mindful is important. Just being mindful of, you know what, I may have snapped a minute ago. So being mindful is so very important, right?
Yeah. And to my boys too, I had to give them hugs and say, if grandma and mom snap, please forgive me. I'm having grandma puberty. That's what I called her, grandma puberty. Um, so let me see. Here's another one. So true. My friend is Black, had a very low egg count at 36. Black women do usually go through menopause earlier. All right. Okay, my friends. Well, that's it for today. We will continue this conversation on TikTok. We're
Mhm.
going over to TikTok. So if you want to join us there, you can. If not, I encourage you to share this live and to contact Dr. Stephanie, and to be bold about your menopause, embrace the experience, get
Mhm.
educated about it, and share the information with other women as well. Thanks again, Dr.
You're
Stephanie. Have a
welcome.
wonderful day,
Thank you.
everyone.
See you
Bye.
soon.
Bye.